So that's what's
live streaming is on.
That's what I've got on the agenda. And of course, we start with how we're feeling, what we're focusing on this week, and then any priorities or additions to the agenda. And I'll go ahead and get us started. I have a little bit of a sugar buzz. The Easter Bunny brought all my favorite chocolate to my grandson. Imagine that happening yesterday. So I have all kinds of good stuff around me to keep snacking on. And my focus this week is roles and reviews, payments, and testing. And my priorities for the agenda are all of those same things. Woo! The proposals that are up for voting and making sure we have good, clean information for how we can pay people, how people would prefer to be paid, and then making that happen. And I'll pass it to Lauren.
Hi. I'm feeling super good. I'm feeling like really excited to be here and just happy to see you all. My focus is for this week. I want to get some testing done on Giveth Trace. Monique is doing a really good job of organizing things. Plus, I have this the development like sprint update Medium post that I want to just like quickly edit and like get out as soon as possible early this week. Yeah, that's it, right? And so doing good. And I'll pass it to Ashley.
Hey everybody, I'm feeling pretty good today. Woke up with a lot of energy, which hasn't been for the past few days, so that's good. And my focus is, I guess, just figuring out my role, defining my role, getting caught back up, synced back up with everybody, and working with Forrest to kind of get our first projects verified and start towards the Give token launch, and maybe meet with Danny to review roles and stuff like that. So, and testing. And so I'll pass it to Mitch.
Sorry, had to find the tab. I'm doing good. James sent me down a rabbit hole this morning, so I'm working on that. This week, more testing on Giveth. I got to write some tweets, so I got to check out that, more about Twitter. And I think that's it for Giveth this week. And I wanted to check out Autopilot because Willie brought it up yesterday, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, it kind of like got lost a little bit among the other things segment in Autopilot. So I want to check out more of that. And I'll pass it to Mateo.
Good morning, everyone. Feeling very nice today. Excited for this week to be really productive. For today, I am planning to update the light version of the app. Yeah, that's it. I just want to listen to you all and learn a lot and offer I can for this meeting. So I'll pass it to James.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, as Matteo said, we'll be putting live the last sprint today. And yeah, I'm helping Mitch a little bit get going with that. And yeah, I basically want to put live the donation in different currency thing, fix, hotfix / whatever, and then otherwise just picking up the small items that are in the sprint really, and polishing what we have for the sprint. So that's what I'll be up to, and I will pass it to Willie.
Morning, James. Morning, everybody. I was just responding to the GitHub issue and about emails not being sent out, so still no word from Autopilot yet. But I'll post a comment on that GitHub issue. I'm feeling great, waking up, but really excited for the week ahead. I know it's going to be a great one. Focus this week. I want to, by the way, it's so cool to hear all the different things that everyone's working on and how all this stuff comes together. It's really, I love hearing all these updates, and I think everyone's working on great stuff. As far as what I'll be working on, probably some of the fiat stuff. I was chatting with Griff about it last night, and it's been on the back burner a little bit. I promised I would follow up with Transact and apply for Transact because they said that they might be able to help us out. I know we really want fiat, but it's still, we're not, the best option that we kind of talked about last was Ramp, which told us that we can't enable a donor to donate to a project where the donor uses their fiat and the project receives crypto. Ramp pretty much told us that we'd have to do the flow where the donor buys the crypto and then sends it to the project, which is cool, but it's not that amazing. It's kind of what you can already do with a lot of these wallets anyway. And Ramp's XDAI, it has been down past few times I've checked their XDAI on Ramp, so it's not even working right now. So it's an option, but I want to just do a little bit more exploration. I want to follow up with Transact, Braintree, even Stripe maybe. Just like I just want to put a little bit of time there just to see what our options are. I'm also looking into the PayPal stuff. PayPal's been doing a bunch of cool crypto stuff, and they just announced like the ability for people to pay merchants with crypto. So I want to look in just to see what the landscape looks like and see what our options are there. And yeah, just otherwise just thinking about other roadmap stuff. If we can't do fiat, what other features can we do in the meantime while we wait for give back stuff to be all ready to go? Should we go on? Who has not gone yet? Griff?
I haven't.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like that discussion actually, Willie. But especially on like maybe even stepping up a level and just being like, okay, so what are the priorities for Giveth.io and roadmap? Because I know James was talking about like not feeling confident about the roadmap because then we don't know what to prioritize. So it'd be good to get that in, and I'll add that to agenda. And payments. My focus is payments this month, and then being here to support the mostly from an advisory basis on the project verification, and also participant. I want to participate in the project verification, and of course the token distribution, supporting Bowen and anybody else who's working on that. And yeah, who else still needs to go? James, did you go?
I did go. Thank you. I believe that's everybody, or did Ashley? You enter? Okay.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Kai would show up by now, but he didn't. So we'll save a spot for him later. All right. So all of that's very good. Added development prioritization to the roadmap. I'm sorry, to the agenda, blah, blah. All right, let's drop in just to check on next steps for the token economy. I know we had the week off last week, allowing some folks to recover. But also I know that Griff and Bowen and I got to hang out with Chris and Loey and do some past contributor hacking. Griff, as far as I know, there was a couple tweaks Bowen said that was being made. Is that ready to be voted on?
Well, I think that's Willie.
Oh.
Maybe I have the mic. I'll just give a quick couple updates. So Fabio's still working on it. He didn't make much progress over the weekend or anything. We're a little distracted with the Hatch DAO, the Hatch design dashboard that we're trying to get out this week. So there's probably not going to be a lot of progress on the give backs step this week, but maybe a little. But it's so close anyway. And then so we have the verification party, which Ashley can give an update on. And Edu. So Edu is feeling way better, 100%. It is a holiday today. It's Easter Monday, and that's like a thing for him and his community. So he gets a full day off being healthy, which is really nice. And we also had major success on the DApp node front, pushing the bridge forward. But it's not like it's not a challenge. Like that's not a blocker for them, which is really important. So that's good. Afri got the bridge through, figured out. So I think that we will make a lot of progress on the liquidity mining front. And now the next steps really are to get the smart contracts audited, and then it'll pretty much be done. And the front ends look amazing at this point. So yeah, and that I'll definitely be connecting with Edu tomorrow on these things. I'll pass it to Willie to give updates on his side.
Cool. As far as airdrop stuff goes, chatted with Bowen this past week. He got the list over from Amin and Mo with all the different past Giveth users and how much activity they've had on the DApp. So we hacked on that a little bit and came up with a basic formula that basically takes all this data and gives everybody a normalized score, and then we can give everyone a base and then allocate the excess tokens based on that score. So that was in a pretty good place, and Bone was just going to tweak it, but he thought he should be able to finish that up. And our goal really is this sprint cycle to finish up the airdrop list, because I know we're getting close with that. And then Griff found with the original airdrop list that we made a DAO proposal for, there were some updates we want to make there, some people, some addresses that weren't included that we want to make sure are included. So we're going to do another proposal for that once we have the other lists ready. And I think, Danny, you're working on the current Giveth contributor allocation list, right?
Yeah, we have one. I don't know how to actually quantify it yet, but we can rock that out this week for sure.
Cool. If we can do that one this week, then we'll be on track. We'll have all the airdrop stuff done and can check that box off. So that's a great goal. And let us know if you need any support with that. Sweet.
Perfect. All right, that sounds amazing. I did have a couple. Let's see, what was the note I had from last week? An outline for the announcement. Lauren, I think you were working on writing up a little announcement for that. Do you need anything? Have any update for it?
No, I haven't written anything yet for it. But when is this going to be? When is this going to be like published, like ready to announce, like this week or?
I think the one announcement that I know we talked about on a previous call was like the big major announcement when we announced the airdrop and we say, liquidity mining starts in 2 days and givebacks are live, which I wanted to ask about that. Do you guys, maybe that's another topic, but do you think should givebacks go live day one when we launch the token? Or possibly we might want to say, hey, givebacks start in a week and give some time for projects to come like apply and create projects and stuff. Something to think about. But anyways, all of that will be in that announcement post, and that we won't want that to go live until everything's ready, basically. So at least a couple of weeks, at least a few weeks.
Awesome. Okay. If there anything else around the Give token, anybody's popping into your mind? 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's jump over to Reputation DAO. Everybody who has sorry, I saw Kai arrived. Welcome, Kai. So everybody who already has Reputation DAO tokens on Aragon, please, please, please jump in and spend a few minutes clickety-clicking all of the buttons that it's going to take for you to approve the votes to distribute the tokens for Q1 to everybody. I put them all in yesterday. 2,222 tokens for everybody on the list that we reviewed last week. So those of you who already have tokens are approving the distribution of the tokens to some of our new folks who will now be able to vote going forward. And then I wanted to check in on 2 things we realized. Number one, we didn't have Bowen on that list. And then we also realized in the Trace meeting that there's some devs over there on Giveth 1 who also weren't in this. So Bowen's going to make his own proposal and test individuals who aren't already token holders making a proposal for us to vote on, which is really rad. And probably Mohammed can do the same, or I can just make it for him either way. But we'll get that one in too. And I don't think there's a reason why we have to have it all right at once. Like we can do all of these right now, and then Bowen can put in his proposal and Mohammed can get his in. And if anybody can think of somebody else who's been contributing for 3 solid months that I didn't think of yet, please let me know. I think we've got everybody covered, but
there are some part-time contributors to Giveth Trace, but I don't think we need to make that effort. Let's just get Mohammed first, and then we'll do it in 3 months or 6 months after that.
Yeah, exactly. And then so like folks that are over on Trace, a lot of them haven't really been involved like on Discord, and also the repos that they work in are not the Giveth 2 repo. So we talked about adding source cred to some other Giveth repos, and I seem to have gotten a general consensus that heck yeah, we need to do that. But which repos should we add it to? And then is there any anything to adjust on that is the next question. And I can just make a GitHub issue and we can decide those things in there and assign it to Kai.
Yeah, or assign it to Monique. Monique is probably the person to go to for Giveth.
So the thing itself is very easy to change. It's just I'm wondering because I asked actually Monique and Amin last time. It was, I think, last weekend, not this one. And they said, well, thanks, but we're not that interested in that DAO stuff. So that's the consensus I got from there, like just these two guys. Amin was basically speaking for the Trace team. We can check in with them again, but we should not force it upon them, I guess.
No, but the source cred is should we? I think they'd be down for extra pan through source cred. I don't.
Yeah, maybe they didn't know the whole implications, and I was bundling the thing. I was like, hey, do you guys want to join the DAO? Do you want to get connected to source cred? It might have better been much what I was like asking.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are two separate things. And I don't think, I think the main thing is in the past, all of the pan has been reserved for Giveth 2 development. And going forward, we are all one big happy. Giveth. So the other contributors, such as those guys, if they're hacking and doing stuff and it's being tracked, then we also want that work to be rewarded as well with that pan.
All right. I need to do maintenance on the source cred deployment anyway because it's failing right now, and so I'll wait for that decision and then I set it up.
Awesome.
Is there any? I'd like to hear from Willie specifically. Do you feel good about bundling the Giveth 2 funds into the source cred for everyone, or is it? I mean, we did make a promise. I can understand both sides,
So sorry, help me understand. Bundling the Giveth 2 funds with all the source cred. What does that exactly
So
entail?
that means, well, when we do source cred, we're using Giveth 2 funds to fund the source cred effort, and now Giveth 2 would be funding Giveth Trace effort.
Oh, yeah, I do think that makes sense, and I think yeah, I'm all on board. If we're talking about just bringing it together, so there's not Giveth 1 funds and Giveth 2 funds, kind of at the macro level, I'm totally on board with that, and I think it makes sense.
Cool. And does anyone else have any objections to that? Okay, cool. So then we can say that's decided, right?
We can.
Yeah, I would even argue that we got many of those pan matchings because of Giveth Trace and not so much because of the second version.
Good point.
One big happy. All right, let's see. So, talked about that. Let's move on to payments, yeah? Woo! Okay, so also I see Forrest is here. Welcome to the call, Forrest. Do you want to give a word?
A word of how I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Coconut full.
Okay. So let's see, what do I want to update? I kind of felt like we could use some time here to gather some useful information in a very open source, decentralized, transparent manner around A, what's been working about payments so far, and B, what do we really want to change going forward, and what are some actionable next steps towards that? So there are some things that are already in. Hey, dogs, can you stop that? There's a document that Forrest put together already that she went through and gathered up how people have been paid so far and on what's in Giveth Trace with milestones. A lot of us have single milestones that we just get paid into, and those milestones are way down in the list now. And so I'm feeling like we are at a stage where it would be a really good idea to create new, either if you want to keep the same process, a new milestone for this year or starting now that kind of identifies any changes in our roles. spells out what it is we're actually going to be working on going forward in a fresh, clean manner. And alternately, let's capture in this spreadsheet, and I think I put a link to it in there, but I think I wanted to check with you, Forrest, first, because I know you created that spreadsheet. Is it okay with you if we use this spreadsheet and create a new tab in it for March and track in one place all of everybody's preferred payment methods, so everybody can put that in themselves? Where do you want your stuff to go?
Absolutely.
What milestone, what types of funds do you like to receive? And then we'll match that up with what we actually have to distribute, and maybe that'll help us make a good decision. From last week, what I recall us talking about is the hard part is going to be getting the funds from all of the different places that it is and putting it into the new place that we want to pay people out from. So heading towards a very clean and consistent process. We talked last week about XDAI. We talked about recycling one of the wallets that Kai has on a Gnosis safe that was built before the cutoff to where it can work on both mainnet and XDAI. I'm still feeling like that's the direction we want to go towards. So this is me asking, how do we get that done? Kai, did you have any updates on the wallets that you have and what we can do to get those over to where we can put a bunch of money in it and pay people out?
Sure. So we can use the non-con multisig. There's only two people on it. It's Exile Surfer and me. Exile Surfer is an old, how do you say that? Like one of the space, a rock of the space, and a cool guy. And I don't know, we kind of stuck. We got stuck with Griff when we said, should we keep him? I said, let's keep him on the multisig. And we said, well, maybe it would be better if he was not on the multisig. I understand both options. I don't really mind much. Like he would probably be not active, or if we need him, be active, which is also nice. But he's like one of those people who understand what multisig is, what it's for, and I trust him, I would say.
I heard everything you said except who you're talking about.
He's called the Exile Surfer. That's his handle. And,
I met that guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's Michael. He worked at Status. Right now he's working on Ethereum and Sovereign. Yep. And so how it works is, so let me pull up, an ENS name is still mapped noncon.eth, so it's easy to find. So I will copy this into governance, and well, the way it works is we decide kind of like who is on the multisig, and then this is the address of the new multisig. And so we decide who's on there, and then we need addresses from those people, and then we need to vote them in. I think on both. I haven't checked out XDAI yet, but for sure for mainnet, that's what we need to do. Vote everyone in. Also tell people on the old multisig that it's being deactivated, and if people want to move to the new one, that's cool. We will likely lose many people who were on that multisig, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Team changes, and it was becoming a bit incumbent anyway. It was not the easiest thing to get signers, as I remember.
Right.
And
okay,
so I will manage the first one at least, because I'm a signer currently, and as soon as I get the first addresses, we can make. I would say it would make sense to put it in operation relatively quickly. Like just let's have 4 or 5 people there, and then we can always expand. We should like cost is also a thing. Like every additional signee will cost, of course, as like we have to pay for the transactions to add them, and the signers, like the more signers we have, the more how do you say that the quota needs to be in a way that the multisig is safe. So you need more than half of the signers to sign until something passes, and that overall also increases the cost in a group, right? Like every signer who has then to sign off on a transaction will incur costs.
So I just heard you say that at least half of the signers need to sign, but I think from last week, if I look at the notes, we talked about having 10 signers, but only requiring 4. So those two things don't match. Is it just a suggested protocol?
So this is just game theory. You want to keep a lowest surface of attack, and it's easier to collude with 2 people than with 5 people. Or 4 people, so that's good.
I think it's important when it's a 5 or a 6 or even a 7 to have a majority vote, but the real thing is the collusion, right? So making sure it's collusion resistant, and if it requires 4 or 5 people, even if it's a 20-person multisig, if you trust all those 20 people right now and you need 4 or 5 of them to turn, that's the real dynamic, right? So I think it's a good rule of thumb, but then when the multisig gets too big, it doesn't need to be 50%. Wait, I had this debate. Do you remember this debate? Because right now the Giveth multisig is not over 50%. It's like a 6 of 14 or something like that.
The biggest problem really never was collusion, but was needing too many signers on a decision and not getting any, and then the actual transaction was delayed for weeks. That's what you want to avoid, really. I don't fear collusion as much, so 3 or 4 people are definitely enough. And then if we have 4 of 10, it's easy to get signers, I would say, and we can also switch them around, so not any one person has to put up with all those transaction costs.
So the other thing that's interesting is we don't necessarily have to mirror mainnet and XDAI. Now, that's kind of a weird thing. We probably should mirror the mainnet and XDAI, but it is like in the configuration space. We don't have to, right? So,
but if that is an option, we can as well keep the old one for mainnet and just use the save on XDAI for now.
No, because if people, then we have that donation issue where if people donate, we would have to make it on the Giveth DApp that here's the mainnet address and here's the XDAI address and have awareness. And the DApp would have to, there'd be a lot of configuration, which maybe is not a bad idea, making like a question for what do you want your donation address to be for mainnet, and then another, what do you want your donation address to be for XDAI, right? It is part of the process, but that's a lot of change.
Maybe I understood wrongly what you wanted to do in the first place, because that's what I thought you were saying.
Well, with this address, we can use this one address and it works on both. Both. So, but if we wanted to use the old address and this address for XDAI, then we'd have 2 different addresses, and the DApp would need a lot of changes to like make that process normalized for everybody, right?
What we can do is keep it light on mainnet and put more people on the XDAI multisig also.
Yeah, exactly.
For now, or we could say, hey, if if ETH2 like or when it gets released, when, right? Then probably transaction costs go down, and then we can do everything we want to do, and maybe so these are all decisions we can make, but we can accept funds right now on the multisig is also a thing. Like, I'm a signer already, and given that I'm not betrayed by the other partner, funds are safe on there.
So right now it's 2 of 2, Kai, you and XS Surfer. Okay.
1 of 2.
It's 1 of 2. Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And I would keep it that way. So if I get now a list of 4 addresses, I would vote all those in and then switch the quota.
Right. Yeah,
All
I
right,
was,
so go ahead.
if we needed to talk to the other signer before, but it sounds like we don't need to because you got control. So really just the question is who do you want to have as the signers?
Yeah, it's just a social thing of not wanting to kick the signer off that's there. It should be actually those people who want to sign stuff. And who are like, hey, I don't feel like spending $60 on transactions for Giveth a month for 1 or 2. Yeah, it's gonna be really expensive.
But that's the Ethereum. That's why we were talking about doing this on XDAI, right?
Yep.
We're gonna do it on both, right? But
Yep.
we don't.
Yeah.
We only need to do transactions when we're trying to pull funds, when we're trying to disperse funds. So it is possible that we're not doing mainnet disbursements every month, and that we're trying to use our funds in XDAI and only tapping into the mainnet multi-sig when we really need to.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the goal is to transition fully in the coming months to XDAI, but knowing that there will be some transactions on Ethereum and they will have gas fees. Is there anything else that a person who is volunteering to be a signer on our multi-sig for payments would need to know about?
They should be comfortable with MetaMask and using a dApp on 2 different networks. But given the set of people here, there are really low requirements. We never had high requirements for the multi-sig. The most important thing is that you are known within this circle and respected within this circle. And
yeah, and the other thing I would say is timeliness. The reason why the debate around how many signers to have and to require is because sometimes we need to move money in an expeditious manner and not, when something gets posted and says multi-sig signers, please jump into your wallet and review these and post them. We really love to get rapid response from that. So knowing those things, those of you who are on this call, if you would like to volunteer and feel like you meet the requirements and can do a good job, would you post in the chat? Yes, I will, and I'll add your names into this. And if you're a hard no, would you also say no as well? So I know not to track you down and ask you about it later.
Yeah, it would be good to have this in a spreadsheet eventually anyway. So
that's what I'm going to do is I'm putting it into the notes right now. And then my priority in the coming 24 hours is to get the payment spreadsheet update. So the other link in the chat is that payment tracking spreadsheet that Forrest created. And on the past payment data, there's a column that says column H, accepted payout platforms and currencies. So if you don't have anything written in there around what you accept, please go ahead and type in there or make any updates to it. I kind of feel like I want to know what your preferences are. Maybe I don't.
I was going to say this month I will still do manual payments, right? I'll just be making individual payments. And I think for most of you, we did this last month where it's like, hey, how much, what do you want? You want like some Binance Smart Chain LP token? Like you want a balancer pool token? Like what do you want? Whatever you want. It's fun being paid in balancer pool tokens, isn't it? Whatever you want, I can make it happen. Just tell me.
So I guess with that question and knowing how we all love our time with Griff, and also that Griff has a lot going on with the hatch right now. Is everybody cool with having the same as last month? Do you need any changes, Griff? Do you want to have this check-in time with everybody because it's valuable to you?
If people want it, I mean, I think we could also do it async, right? Where you just chat me up. But yeah, I mean, it's really nice that you're cat herding the payment things. And if people have questions like, actually, Griff, can you just like tell me what I don't like thinking about this stuff. Like that's fun too, right? And then we can have a little back and forth. But if you already know what you want, then why don't I can save you the gas fees and just make it happen.
Cool. Well, if you know what you want, this spreadsheet I just made a column for April with March to pay everybody for March. So if y'all just put it in there, I definitely want a date with Griff, and we can walk through this later this week, hopefully, because I have a couple other things I need to check in with you on, Griff.
Where's the spreadsheet, Danny?
Oh, let's see. It is Giveth contributor payment tracking. I'll put it back into the chat again. There you go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting. If you look at our DAO, one of the mints got one no vote. Did you vote no? You voted no? Why did you vote?
I love it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know whose address that is.
I don't know for any of those addresses who they are. That's interesting.
I'm looking every address up on our sheet, and that one's not on our sheet. I put
It's
it right
on. Look at row C13 or cell C13 because I just saw that. I saw the same thing. Kind of looking at the sheet, and I'm like, oh, here, this is Tommy's address.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Thank you.
I was wondering the same thing. Thanks for asking.
I'll change my vote.
Okay.
I was blindly following Donnie's input. Yeah, it will be okay. She put it in.
I'm also. I was using this as an opportunity to add a custom label for everyone's name in the
great.
day. So then I know.
wish those could be shared somehow. Like that.
I know. I did it already. As I added them, I put custom labels. I mean, I already had the rest of you, but I added that for the 4 new addresses, and I was like, I wonder if I could make that show up for everybody. But
yeah, there's at least an import function I saw.
I can definitely say I've spent a lot of time digging through Aragon documentation because I didn't realize everybody had to vote on this. I'm like, I assign tokens. Why aren't people's numbers changing? It took me a little minute to figure out everything that was happening through this process. That said, I think I want to just take this moment to encourage folks, if there's something that you need a decision on, please consider putting together a little proposal type thing. I'm going to put together this proposal for everybody's payments this month, and use that document to vote, probably, because I think it's really important now that we're on chain that we're stepping up our awareness of the transparency of how we're showing where all the money comes in. Let's show where all the money goes back out and use our processes really well and be excited about it. So please, 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 now that we have a few more people able to vote, think about what proposals we should be voting on. What are decisions that we make in these various meetings on a regular basis? And are all of the appropriate people that need to be informed and consulted with, is that happening? We get to start thinking about that more now.
Dani, can you be a gem and upload your name list like I showed here?
Let me jump back. I didn't see what you said. Okay.
You go to the settings wheel and custom labels.
Yeah.
I just have one, like my address here. So it should look like this for you, and you can go to Actions, Export, and send us that JSON file here.
Yeah, I'll do that.
We can then import and
is
that.
Nice.
Now I don't know how many of you are using the Aragon One Hive platform very often. I definitely am finding that I have to log out and close my window and come back in. I would say frequently, not just every once in a while, but almost every time I leave it and come back to it or change networks, I do have to log back out and log back in. It's just, I've just noticed it. I kind of really want to know if Griff, what you guys are learning. I'm following along to the best of my ability with the token hatch and all of the decisions that are being made there. And I know we're sticking with One Hive and this is our thing, but if there's anywhere we can be harvesting some learnings from people who are doing this at a more advanced level and having some feedback sessions, information sharing, I want more info.
I mean, the big thing here is that the OneHive community, for the most part, is moving away from the Swiss Army knife approach that Aragon had, where it's like, oh, here's a DAO that can do all the things. Here's a UI that can do all the things. And it's the worst pair of scissors, the worst nail file, the worst like knife, the worst, but it can do all those things, right? But and moving more into like our Aragon Connect, where you have a UI that uses the graph and is updated based off of, or is like has its own custom UX. And so I think because we're using this old UI, it's not their first priority. Their first priority is making sure the custom UIs are working for the custom deployments. So, and also right now they're just really, really busy with they're upgrading all of OneHive, and they're really close to adding disputable voting and the Celeste and disputable conviction voting. And I think that once that upgrade is complete, probably some of the more maintenance-y things will happen. But the main thing is, if you have an issue, we need to report it and help them make it better for us. And if we do that, they will consider us their favorite users, their privileged users. They might even just like talk to us and ask us how we can be improvements. Because if we constantly make GitHub issues for them and do it in a loving way, we're like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, here's a GitHub issue and how you can improve. They will, like, it'll work great. It'll be nice. That's
Okay.
Fine.
So that leads me to one more question. Sorry. So we're on a system, we're on the old system, and there's a new, better system. Well,
so I wouldn't say it's it's a new, better system, but honestly, it's not better yet. It's in very active development, and I haven't seen any regular DAOs with their own custom UI. I've only seen like complex DAOs where the custom UI doesn't work, like conviction voting or these other things. I have like even OneHive's normal Dandelion voting instance uses the old UI, right? So I wouldn't. It's like, I think we're doing the best. We're in the best situation, in my opinion, right now.
okay, good. And part of the reason why I'm asking is roadmap, because I definitely, as I'm looking at it, there's certain things where I'm like, I feel like we're in maintenance mode using what we're using right now, because there's what you guys are doing with the token engineering hatch is paving the way, right? In a lot of different ways for what we should have and have our eye on moving towards on the roadmap. So that's why I'm thinking about how do we do the best we can with having each of these little areas are the money that's coming in, the money's going out, making proposals, reviewing and getting them approved, these processes, and then distribution of payments. That's our long-term goal. What can we be tweaking on the side right now that helps us be ready for when a better system has been tested and is ready for us?
I honestly think that we will not be using, we will continue to use this system. So, for instance, in OneHive right now, most of the swarms are requesting funds from conviction voting, but then those funds go into a DAO like the one we have and are distributed from. So in the end, we might be requesting funds from conviction voting, but we will end up with this same smaller organizational DAO with a similar setup. So I don't think it will change really.
Okay. And while I'm talking roadmap and have been thinking about this, as we set up this Gnosis safe and anticipate having funds in there that are handling our payments, everything from regular awards to paying contractors and system maintenance fees and things like that. Are there any of those that would be moving over into the Aragon, to the RDAO, and be handling payments out of that tool along with this voting? Or do you think that they're going to stay separate for a long time?
I mean, that's up to us. If we want to do all of our payments from RDAO, then we use culture to say, hey, multi-sig money goes to RDAO. If we want to make payments out of the multi-sig, then we just make payments out of the multi-sig. It's kind of up to us.
Yeah, and doing it out of the RDAO would just mean everybody votes and then the payments happen. Whereas doing it in the multi-sig, we have to, it's a little more work, right? Like it's more work on multiple people to keep it in that way.
I think it's the same. Well, I think it's more work to do it out of the RGive because it just depends on where the money is. Because if we need to send money, if the money goes to the multi-sig, then we would have to send it to RGive. So then it could be through. So it'd be like one multi-sig transaction. And then the RGive is basically also a multi-sig, where you have the same. So it's really just where do we want to store the money, right? And making those decisions.
Okay. Thank you. That helps me finish what I'm working on.
There was the other roadmap discussion, and we only have like 7 minutes. I don't know if we can squeeze that in.
Yep, let's go there.
It sounded like there were a few options. There's the fiat push, which is experimental and might get stopped as it has stopped before. There's the white label as a big option. There's also, of course, just continuing quality assurance, like QA improvements of the Giveth app. And then, Willie, you had one more too. What was it? Damn.
I was thinking the project verification using like the 3-box or whatever the new 3-box is that Mateo found. So that projects can basically verify their Twitter, email, or GitHub. Those are all the different services that come out of the box with this service. And the cool thing is that you basically tie it to your Ethereum address with like it's cryptographically signed with your keys, so people can. So it's kind of like a trustless verification. And the cool thing about it is that it kind of feeds into givebacks, where if we want to, verify that a project is who they say they are, we can do this in a way where they don't have to give up too much information or anything, but they can basically use the service to sign a message and say, this is my Twitter account, or this is my email, this is my GitHub. So that people donating to a project know that project is who they say they are. This one this could be a good candidate because it seems achievable. We know we have the give back stuff and all the token stuff around the corner, but this one's not huge scope. We've already done part of it with the complete your profile UI. Really, like the missing stuff is tying in 3-box and then showing badges on each project's profile if they're Twitter verified or email verified, kind of just showing these badges. And then, it seems like it could feed into givebacks. On a similar thread, report a project. That was something we had talked about before. Just the ability for a user to like click report a project and then say, oh, check a box. This project is pretending to be someone else, or this project has profanity, whatever it is, and then maybe leave a comment and then have that send a message to our Discord or something so we can go look into the project. Those were two that I thought could be achievable and help kind of support the give back stuff that we know is around the corner.
How are we integrating Bright ID, for example, into some of this verification?
It's not
Bright ID. Bright ID doesn't add any value to us at this point.
No, okay, because we were partnering with them. We had all this conversation about it, and then
we will need Bright ID when we go causes with quadratic voting. We will need Bright ID for the donors, and if we wanted to start having Bright ID donors, that's a feature we could integrate, but it doesn't really have any value until we do something where we need one person, one something, right? So right now we don't have those requirements.
Yeah, they asked us that on the AMA, and that was what we let them know. We're like, we don't actually need to know that you're a unique individual right now. You can be whoever the heck you want to and donate all you want, and we're going to be happy to get your money.
Right now we're talking about verifying who they are.
Yeah, but it doesn't
be anybody you want, but we still have to know, like, if you're Twitter or GitHub, so you have to have some sort of identity.
And that's 3-box. So 3-box for projects, right? We don't need one person, one donor. So that's where it matters. But a project doesn't need to be verified on Bright ID. That doesn't add any value to the verification process. But Twitter, and these other things do, and that's the 3-box.
Yeah, so this changes it a little bit because this isn't like you can just be whoever. Like you still have to have it tethered to an actual identity,
Right.
And the other big one would be a white label. Like, I guess, so like, I really love Willie's suggestions of these small achievable ones, $3 integration, and the other one. As far as like big packages, how do you feel about prioritizing white label over fiat?
Oh man, I care about both so much. Honestly, from a timeline perspective, though, I feel like fiat's more important right now, because we have parallel timelines on the white labeling piece that where having fiat is important to the white label. So actually, they're kind of the same. Because fiat would be a requirement of the white label.
Got it. Yeah, if that's the case, then, or I mean, you could make the case that there's other organizations that would want to do the white label without the fiat, but we don't really know of any of those right now. So if the organizations, Panvala. So maybe there is the argument that we don't necessarily need the fiat for the white label, but I hear what you're saying. And if we do agree that most of the white label organizations, do want fiat, then I would agree it makes sense to do fiat first because that will benefit Giveth users and the white label users.
James, are you working with some other white label potentials? I remember there was CO2 token.
That is indefinitely in a box, I would say.
Okay.
And no, none that I'm aware of. I mean, Giveth and Panvala are the two sort of biggest ones I'm aware of right now. And like, as I said before, I think like the white label is not something we can really act on until we have a use case, right? Like it's better to have someone that we're working with and making sure that we're building something that they need rather than trying to speculate like on how to make a generic white label product that like is going to make everybody happy, right? At the end of the day, it's like, let's not try and recreate WordPress. Like let's build for users and that way they can help fund it also, right?
Yeah.
And we make sure we get people what they want. So my feeling on this is strongly like, let's leave white label for the moment. I feel like the fiat integration is like super important. Like I think if we can really bridge the gap like between the crypto world, the better. And this is something that's like, it's going to take some investigation. This is not something that developers can just work on right now, right? So for me, it's like, I really like the approach of 3, for example, or other low-hanging fruit, while at the same time we have at least one person who's taking responsibility to like put together like the research and like a proposal for what the fiat will be going forward, right? Like there's a lot to be done before we actually act on any fiat integration, basically.
Yeah, fiat integration is definitely a research project, whereas white label is not necessarily a research project. It's like I also couldn't agree more. We do not make a white label without 1 or 2 users that we're working with to make them happy. Otherwise, we're just spinning our wheels. That's what we did on the Giveth Trace. Oops. No. And there's also another group called Doing Good. This is they really want to integrate with Giveth as well. So as a white label. So we have those 3 projects.
Cool. Well, I do think fiat is kind of the white labeling is kind of a research project too, because we need user feedback to tell us the direction to go on that a little bit. But we're at the top of the hour. Got another meeting to head to. Anybody has any questions about the topics we've had today, please let me know. I'm working on spreadsheets and getting everybody paid and able to vote and make proposals. Much yay. Thank you.
Much yay. Thanks. Have a good week.
Yep. Take care. Bye.